The movie starts with three men talking and joking in a car. Suddenly, they get into an accident. As their car spins around, our main character, Park, thinks that he will die and his life flashes past before his eyes. So who is he? Let's start from the beginning of his life. His father was a crook who likes to steal, gamble, and get into debt. Fighting was the only thing he could learn from him, so Park became the #1 delinquent student. One day after school, he saw his father begging a man that he could easily beat in a fight, only because that man was a prosecutor. At that moment, Park realized that it was what real power is and decided to become a prosecutor even though his grades were terrible. Fortunately, he later found out his own style of studying. This made his grades improve a lot, to the point that his teacher thinks he was cheating, but eventually was proven wrong. Park even got the highest grade in school before getting accepted into Seoul University. He continued studying until he eventually managed to pass the bar exam. Everyone in his hometown celebrated his success. Park had to go through a 2-year training to become an official prosecutor. During that time, he saw a woman driving an expensive car who confronted two men arguing because of a crash. An absolute badass lass named Lim. Unexpectedly, he met her again on a blind date. She left early, saying that she only went to the blind date to please her father. She thought that prosecutors are only into submissive women, which was absolutely not her. But he convinced her otherwise. They ended up getting drunk and making love passionately that night and got married 6 months later, just as he officially became a prosecutor. On his first day, he learned that prosecutor is hard work that doesn't pay much. But Park persisted in handling small petty cases until he was faced with a case of sexual abuse to a high schooler by her teacher. He found out that the case had been suspiciously settled even though the teacher should be in jail, as all the proof was available. His colleague told him that the teacher's father was a wealthy former congressman in Seoul, while the victim was only a daughter of a mentally impaired street food vendor. Either way, Park still called the teacher to meet him, and he got annoyed by the teacher's arrogance that he ordered the police to put him in jail as he prepared the case to go to court. He met with the victim, her mother, and even her school friends to get more witnesses. Once he had everything ready, Park suddenly got visited by a senior prosecutor, Yang. He invited Park for a late-night snack, but for some reason he brought him to the elite strategic department's office instead. Yang showed him tons of influential cases and secret documents, then asked him to join them under one condition: Park must drop the sexual abuse case because the teacher's father has close ties with the department's chief. Park was hesitant, but Yang said that a good prosecutor needs to know when to take a good opportunity and use sensitive information to their advantage. He then shows him a scandalous video of an innocent actress from the secret stash, telling Park to think it over. As he imagined the actress being naughty with him, Park decides to drop the case. Later, it was revealed that even though Park dropped the case, he raised the settlement fee 10 times its original sum. He was thanked by the victim's mother, but he still felt guilty. That night, Yang invited him to a party at a penthouse, where the elite prosecutors and influential people related to their work gathered to party. There, he met with Chief Prosecutor Han. He was respected by even the most influential people there. The abusive teacher was there too. Park didn't acknowledge the teacher, even when Yang told them to drink together. Suddenly, Han threw his glass at Park and scolded him for acting like he was big just for having a sense of justice. Park was upset because Han was right, so he redeemed himself by being bold and drinking together with the whole room. Han found Park interesting, so he welcomed him to the elite team of the top 1% prosecutors in Korea, where nothing was out of their reach. After the party, Park got taunted by the abusive teacher. As he was about to beat the guy up, another guy suddenly beat the teacher before him. It turned out to be Choi, Park's acquaintance from his high school days. Choi was apparently the sub-leader of a gang called the Wild Dogs, led by a man named Kim. They are the top gang in Mokpo who is backed by Han. They do any dirty work for Han in return. The two catch up and have a friendly fight, reminiscing their old delinquent life at school. Park started working for Han's department, where they go after the big cases involving important people. He no longer needs to handle petty small cases. Many influential and powerful people bow down to their prosecution department, as they hold all the power to make or break their life. Park gained more power and influence, to the point he was able to free Choi from prison early and give his wife a good position at work. Presidential election seasons were the worst for his department, as they needed to figure out who would become the next president. Whoever backs up the right candidate will sure gain his favor once he sits on the office chair. How will they resolve this life-changing decision? By using the power of almighty shamans. Surely nothing will go wrong, right? They went to that candidate and supported him by giving a secret document that can bring down the opponent. Fortunately, the candidate they backed up won. Their success for the next term is a guarantee now, so they party all night long to celebrate. The department went to work right away and indicted a congressman in order to secure higher positions for themselves. When things weren't running smoothly and the public opinion favored the congressman, they released the scandalous tape of the innocent actress to distract the public. Bury an issue with an issue. Han always managed to execute his plans. Meanwhile, Choi and the wild dogs do the dirty work and took over the indicted congressman's redevelopment area. But Choi started to skim some cash to save up for his own gang in the future, which Kim didn't care at the time. Park felt untouchable within Han's crew as the group took a vacation at a military reserve beach and was escorted back to Seoul by many police officers. One day, Park got a job to handle a case of a famous actress who got sued by her management company. He told Choi to intimidate the company owner to settle the case. Apparently, they started dating after that. A new character enters the stage, and it's the start of Park's many problems. On was an upright prosecutor who somehow knew about the actress's case and Park's affair. This led on to believe that he and Choi must be backed up by Han to have that much power. She wanted to take Han down through Park. Yang warned him about it, but he couldn't do anything yet. The next day, Han told him to control Choi because he hears from Kim that Choi is misbehaving. He also told Park to be careful as they are nearing another election period. That didn't sit right with Park, as Choi has been very loyal to him and took care of many of his problems. One day, Choi asked for his help settling in Seoul and forming a new gang. Park didn't stop him, even though it was a very bad and risky idea. Choi started to expand his turf and skimmed off more money, causing Kim to get suspicious. Meanwhile, Lim went to his office to drop off his belongings, as she found out that he was cheating with the actress. This forced Park to move back to his father and sister. Was this On's doing? The election was nearing, and there was a candidate named Ro wanted the prosecutors to be more fair and transparent. Of course, they didn't want him to win, so they called a shaman to pray for his failure while providing his opponents with a secret document to beat him. Unfortunately, Ro still won the election, causing Han to be very upset. At the same time, Choi admitted his ties with a prosecutor in a public newspaper. This made Han even angrier, to the point where he beat Park and Yang up. Afterward, Yang suggested putting Choi in prison so he doesn't cause more trouble, and Park reluctantly agreed. He thought it was better for Choi rather than being killed by the wild dogs. Han and his crew now focused on rebuilding their power. If Ro found out that they gave his opponent a secret document, he would take them down for sure. Out of desperation, they acted more aggressively, almost like a gangster rather than a prosecutor. But in the end, they successfully shut down the losing party before they can snitch on them, removing a thorn for the ruling party while winning their favor. After helping them out, Park was reassigned to the south of the country to lay low for some time. During his stay there, Ro was facing an impeachment crisis. He finally got impeached, but even when Han's team had risen back to the top, they still told Park to stay and wait there. One day, Park went to visit Choi in prison. He told Park to protect his men from the wild dogs by giving them his money stash, but instead, Park gave it to the wild dogs and took some for himself, thinking that it's the only way to keep Choi's men safe. One day, On visited his seaside resort. She seemed to know everything about their social circle. Then, he went to Seoul to warn Han's crew, but they told Park just to go away and stay silent as he was outcast from the crew. Park just realized that and comes back to the resort feeling depressed and powerless. Choi had been released from jail, and by now, of course, he knew of Park's betrayal. The wild dogs had retaken Choi's turf, and all his money was gone, so he wanted to get revenge. He followed and then called Park to confront him. Park, who was drunk, just said in desperation that Han also betrayed him and that nothing mattered anymore as it's over for him and Choi. At home, Park was unexpectedly greeted by Yang and Han, who invited him over for some drinks. Thinking that he can rejoin the team, he followed them. This is where the car crash took place. The one who hit them turns out to be Chori. The three men are brought to a hospital, but for some reason, Han and Yang are secretly moved to another hospital. Later, he finds out the truth when he catches one of Choi's men, who tells him that Choi deliberately crashes into the car to save Park's life. Apparently, Han and Yang were trying to bring Park to Kim and silence him. Choi becomes a target for helping Park and goes on the run for a few months before eventually getting tired and just barging into the Wild Dogs headquarters, where he gets mauled by the dogs, making Park feel awful for losing a good friend because of his mistake. Park spirals into another drunken depression when his sister comes over to tell him that their father was arrested. He calls Yang, who tells him to quit being a prosecutor if he wants them to release his father. Park, who has been drinking, chugs his drink and passes out, wondering what would happen if he stayed upright and helped the molested girl that time instead of joining Han's crew. He decided to take revenge, so Park quit being a prosecutor to free his father. He then takes what he had left, goes to Seoul, and sets himself up for a new life. Park visits On, who also lost her job, saying he wants to catch Han. She doesn't think it's possible, as Han is now the director and Yang took over his position as chief prosecutor, but Park has a plan. He asks his father-in-law for help connecting him to the people of the opposition party, where he tells them everything. Park also called to meet Lim, who he begs to watch his next plan. Seeing his fiery eyes that used to make her fall in love with him, she drops the divorce paper for now and observes him. Park plans to run for Congress for the opposition party while also doing an expose on Han and his crew. Han and Yang watch his public press conference, revealing their ties with the Wild Dogs. Han invites Park for dinner to threaten him, but it has no effect on him. Afterward, they manage to arrest the Wild Dogs due to Choi's men who confessed against them, bringing the people's attention to their relationship with Han. Han tries to retaliate by saying that Park is lying to get votes for his run, but then Park did something that proves to the public that he wants to reform the prosecutors. This pulls the public's attention to him and smoothen his campaign. Han is out of options now as On confronts him in the vault room. The movie ends with Park waiting for his election results to be announced. Will he win? We never know the result. But at the end screen, it shows that On manages to arrest Han. Karma never fails to exist, and sometimes choosing to be a good person will pay off more in the long run. What do you think of Park's clever redemption? Let us know what you think in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and as always, see you next time.